Okay, I'm thinking about calling this a field report or something, but either way, Jordan Peterson. I just got finished listening to the latest Jordan and Michaela Peterson podcast, and I was gonna put on Theo Vaughn. I'm gonna unplug this so I can see better. But I was gonna put on Theo Vaughn and the Trump interview, but I just figured, got time in the car right now, I will put out another video because I got a lot on my mind, but I don't really know how to bring it into a singular video. So this is Peterson talking. Then I'm listening to the Jordan Peterson podcast, Michaela, and he's talking about how you have to just make videos and just say whatever comes to mind. And he really believes that. Like, he very much believes that it's important to just say whatever comes to mind. And the thing is with doing that I can't have a thought ahead of time. I can't have like some idea thing ahead of time defining it. I have to just let it flow, and a lot of what I think about is my business, and I don't necessarily, like, I had this paranoia. It's definitely prevalent in the health coach community, but like, I didn't want people stealing my business process because I developed a very sophisticated business process. And even now I have reservations because I've thought, like, well, what if explaining my business process and just talking about business in a free-form way, like, makes people want to buy from me less? I don't know, like, it's just like insecurity around business, but it's not really done. So, at least not that I see. I don't see people openly talking about what they're doing to make money on an ongoing basis. And to be completely transparent with you, I'm not going to be 100% transparent about, like, the sources of money that come in, because why would I? Like, it doesn't benefit me to. I ultimately want to have many different sources of income in many different names, in many different places, under different corporations, so that people can't, like, I'm going to pay taxes on this, obviously. I'm not going to, like, avoid taxes at all. I don't want to. My mom's worked for the IRS. That was one of her first jobs. She worked for the IRS, and I have no desire to ever mess with the IRS. It's a very terrifying organization. They're the people who got Al Capone. So one thing I'm never going to do is mess with the IRS. It's terrifying people. God bless them. Very meticulous. My mother's very, very, very well organized. Like, she has my accountant now. She's just excellent. I want to learn how this woman does it. But I think about, like, let's talk more about that. So, like, she's very good at accounting, very good organizational skills. Something very, very useful in business. Just having someone who helps you keep track of money. That's another reason that I teamed up with my brother, because he's very meticulous in a way that I'm not. And this is, okay, so this is the way it comes about. Like, I created the supplements by capping them by hand. He's the one who figured out how to actually use a capping machine to mass make them. I'm the one who, a lot of this stuff is my idea as well. But he really, the way he goes about this is just so next level. Like, the way I am towards marketing is the way he is, and like health, understanding chemistry, more of the study of fluids, including human consciousness, and the behavior of things in water, which is very much like consciousness and chemistry and psychology and all of this. And he's just very, very down to earth. Like, he's just buying 3D printers, like buying laser engravers, buying multiple types of bottles to experiment with, just going absolutely nuts in the best possible way on the efficiency side of things and the creation side of things in a physical way, which allows me to go nuts in the other way. So at the moment, the business is simply he and I doing this, and that's all we really need at the moment, because it's really quite simple. It's a really basic business model. Like, you ultimately want to do a business model. Like, great book is Gospel of Wealth by Andrew Carnegie, and he just talks about Andrew Carnegie's steel magnet, talks about how, my eyes look very blue in this camera, but talks about how all increases in long-term human wealth come from increase in production and productivity. And this increase in production and productivity it's very tangible. Like the car I'm driving right now, the cell phone I'm using, books, the printing press, the Roman aqueducts, electricity, mass water systems, the highway system, planes, boats, fire. These are all really important and central things to the human experience as we experience it in Western Rome right now. And that's something cool. I've been watching a lot of videos on Western Rome, or just Rome. They're on YouTube right now for free, so check those out right now if you're watching this. Free YouTube video, Spartacus, directed by Stanley Kubrick. Amazing movie. And then I'm watching Cleopatra right now, which is directed by some other guy. I have no idea who it is, but it's also amazing. And I'm just really digging these because they're just masterpieces and they're historically accurate, and the people in them did things that actually historically correspond to these things. It's so good. And Spartacus it's so inspiring. It really makes me admire cinema. Like, I'd love to get into cinema at some point, make movies, really good movies. Book writing is something I'm doing right now. I think just creating things, and to create things you need to have a platform of wealth. So I think it starts at a familial level. Like, you're ultimately not going to be able, if you read like Robert Greene's book Mastery, you're not going to be able to go from 0 to 100 real quick. You can't do that. You cannot just say, okay, I have a skill, I'm going to go market this skill and find some. Like, you will, but you'll be controlled in various ways. You won't have creative license over your own productivity, which you'll never become rich. Something my father also said is you'll never become rich working for someone else, because you're not. Because in order for, unless that person's like Henry Ford, but even then, like I would love to pay someone deserving like $250,000 a year to do something in the company. There's nothing for them to do right now, because I'm just going to replace everything with machines and automation and programs. My brother's already far better at this than I. He's already programming computer programs that are designing our label artwork and everything for us as we speak, and editing them, and we're creating like AI efficiency programs that are like really, like we're having most of our label artwork right now for the supplements that are coming up being designed by AI with these programs that my brother's made through brilliance and genius and mastery over automation. He's very impressive with what he can do with computer programming and CAD. Honestly, I would say it's mastery. I'd say he's achieved mastery in his own way of that. I mean, you give him a problem, he immediately can just start constructing the most time-efficient, cost-efficient solutions and 3D printing them, and like the organizational systems is very, very good. So we work well together because I'm very good at sales and marketing. Like, I just go out, I sell supplements. It's very easy for me. Like, the way I designed this well, though, and this is something that I'll break it down for you here. This is kind of crazy, but if you're watching 8 minutes and 45 seconds in, I'm just going to start telling everyone all of my stuff, because it'll make me better, and then it'll also get me more viewership, and I'm kind of just holding back out of like insecurity, and then also just healing from the insomnia. So I actually went off of phenylparastem today and back on Adderall, because I was just not, I was feeling a little run down, because it was like 4 days off of Adderall is typically the longest I go. So, and that went very well. So the next time, again, this is corresponding to what I did with parastem the last time. I'm just going to go back on phenylparastem, but probably only phenylparastem. Then I'm also going to like dose out all my caffeine. So that's all standardized dosing, so that I'm not like guesstimating how much caffeine I'm consuming and all this jazz. But carnivore is great. Everything's feeling great. Though I still have to get 2 cavities filled, and I'm doing all the calisthenics training, which is great for my mitochondria, and like my body just feels incredible, and I'll be getting so much stronger from the calisthenics and the kettlebells. It's really crazy. It's just so much more effective way to train, because I can literally focus my body into certain areas, strengthen my body, and it makes me so much more mobile. It's like gymnastics on the go. Like, gymnasts are really, you don't want to fight gymnasts. And it's like, I've never been a gymnast, but I've done wrestling, which is defined as a gymnastic exercise. We do a lot of gymnastics in wrestling. And before wrestling, I did lots of calisthenics. And now after wrestling, I'm doing lots of calisthenics again. And I think calisthenics are really some next level. It's next level, ultimately, because it works through progression. Like, you work through these acquisitions of skills that are... Like, I can still do all the calisthenic exercises that I built up to when I was 15. But I haven't moved much beyond that. Like, I can deadlift 550 pounds now, and I can snatch 106 pounds and do weighted pull-up. But, like, that was all within my reach when I was like 15, 16. I was deadlifting like 365. Like, I haven't increased my deadlift over 200 pounds since I was 16, 15. And that was all through bodyweight training. I wasn't even implementing the back bridges properly at that time, or walking as much. And walking's important. Walking is, like, get a wagon for kids. Kids, like, you gotta, like, make them walk. It's like a discipline thing. I just make them walk, because I'm like, if I can make you walk outside and not, like, get hit by a car and behave properly and, like, enjoy the walk. First of all, it's going to make you healthy. Second of all, I like being with them when I'm doing this. Third of all, I need to do this. Fourth of all, the ability to walk around and act normal is generalizable to literally everything. Like, that's just most of life, is just walking around and acting normal. Like, legitimately, like, how much of life is just walking into different rooms and around places acting normal? So I want to just get her good at that at a young age, build her social skills. My father built my social skills, and really just homeschool them, teach them everything that I need to teach them at home. My wife already has homeschooling co-op and everything, which is awesome. It's really helpful for her sanity mostly. But that puts pressure on me to get the business to a certain point that I can take more time off to help take part in their education and pay for their education and stuff. But this is ultimately the whole point. And, like, I really just took on all this stuff at a young age, because it's like, what am I going to do? I'm going to take on the hardest stuff in my life when I'm older and I have less energy, and the people that could help me are further away and are also older with less energy? No, I'd rather just do it all now. And it's really cool. Like, my parents actually are at a point where they really enjoy hanging out with my daughters, and, like, my mother-in-law just flew up to hang out with us, which is really neat, because that's helpful. And that's also, like, nice, because she and I didn't used to get along, but I didn't, like, alienate her completely. I mean, we did for, I don't know, like, I'm not going to get into family stuff. All I'll say is, if you have a disagreement with your family, you can handle it politely with time, patience, and understanding, and then just working on yourself and allowing them to come to the point where they can meet you where you're at and just kind of, like, understand that family's family. And I think it's ultimately a shame when people alienate their families, because family is ultimately the only alliance you have in this world. And people will complain about the Jews and stuff, but really the reason the Jews end up acquiring wealth in whatever country they go to is because they have Shabbat and Saturdays and they hang out with their family. And I just routinely talk to Jews about this, and Nietzsche, because I find it interesting, because they actually, like, I kind of got down on the Jews when I found out they owned, like, a lot of the porn companies, and there's a lot of nepotism involved in international Jewry and whatever. But, like, nepotism is simply the way the world works in family, and you need mature nepotism. And I talked to Jews about this, and this is what I've just, crazy conversation. Maybe you'll get it somewhere else. Who the hell knows? But I talked to Jews about this. I talked about, like, the need for mature nepotism, where you actually have enough people helping each other that there's competition between families so that you can build intergenerational wealth. And that's hard. It's hard to get along, and, like literally just geographically. Like, I remember I moved to Providence to, like, be closer to my extended family, but it wasn't really closer because the highways all worked out. And then it was closer, but, like, it didn't, like, work out because also, like, scheduling and the traffic in Providence is weird. So, like, once it's like you can't drive anywhere. You can only, like, drive places between, like, for, like, 3 hours. There's, like, three 3-hour periods separated by 3-hour periods where you can drive places, except for the middle of the night in Rhode Island. It's bizarre. if you live in Rhode Island, you know, and it creates this weird introverted culture where you can't really leave Rhode Island. It's very fascinating. I think it should be studied at some point. Called the Rhode Island phenomenon. But basically, though, my family felt betrayed by me moving away. And what I realized is me moving away, like, ultimately I thought that I was like being helpful because I'm like, oh, I'm being less of a financial burden because if I wanted to live close to you, I need more help, whatever. But like, people want you to find ways to create endearing situations in which you lovingly impose on each other and share in each other's suffering such that you understand each other better and that you truly like my brother and I are like, I have to answer to him in weird ways because we have a business together, and he has to answer to me in weird ways. It's like we don't technically have to answer to each other in weird ways because we're technically adults and like we can technically do whatever we want. But if we want to like be functioning people that can function as a unit and accomplish an objective, then we need to have civility, and that involves me putting my ego aside. Like I gotta like practice that stuff. Like I have to meditate, and I have to I'm like, listen to a podcast, he calls, I'm like, whatever, hang up, podcast, pick up my brother, hey Jason, how's it going, talking to him. I have to make these things a priority, and I have to like work to make my family a priority by like trying to live close to them, and like, you have to like try to be involved in each other's lives because you're all each other has. I notice that people in the modern society we live in will make friend groups as surrogate families because they don't have families, but then it becomes this weird political thing because your friend group isn't your family. Like your family is your family because you grew up with those people. Like raising daughters, I understand this. Just raising children, I understand this. Like you're holding those screaming babies in the middle of the night and they're throwing up on you and you're like, I love you, it's okay, I love you, and you want to kill them, and you want to kill yourself, and you don't know what's going on, you can't sleep, and you want to puke, maybe you have puked, you're like, I love you, and it's like, then like everyone's like in the family in the house listening to this, like they help you out. It's like, there's this bond that comes like growing up with someone or raising someone that you can't replace. And like, I've seen this where friend groups will like turn on individuals based on familial bonds and stuff, and the less strong familial bonds they have, the more antagonistic they become, because familial bonds are the only real bonds. It's like the Odyssey. Like, there's a reason that story based on family is the most enduring story. Family, wrestling, fitness. Oh, Telemachus, I can tell that you're a noble because you're really in shape. Be in shape, be really fit. Like, looking the part is the part. Like, you have to be the thing. Like, if you're not gonna have the discipline to eat like beef, salt, and water so you can have the high metabolism, like I eat just beef, salt, and water. Like it's a very expensive, boring diet that I'm tempted to quit. I'm not even, whatever. Like I don't even, like, it just doesn't matter. Like I'm just not gonna, like, I'm just gonna do this until I go on a raw milk and like yogurt and fermented apples and stuff. And I drink fermented tea because like I need fermented tea and cod liver oil and vitamin D and sleep minerals and tyrosine and lots of water and walking and resting and meditating. And I just do all of this because like I'm fucked up. Like it's so crazy to say this, but like if I didn't do all these things, like I would just die because for whatever reason my personal genetic material and condition of my state of being reacts terribly to toxic environments. So I just have to, this is what I have to do, like, or I just deteriorate, like chronic illness, hell, like Michaela Peterson style. Not just that degree of severity. If you want to go look at Michaela Peterson, or like look at my video, I didn't sleep for 19 years, I just talk about that. It's just, I coach people that I talk to about this. And I did a sleep secrets seminar where I talked to people I met through paid ads that have the same type of insomnia as me in different stages. You can go watch that. And it is just this deterioration of hell. But it's like, I just do all these things though, and then my body works better than like everyone else's. And it just makes me feel weird because I'm like, I don't know how I'm going to age or whatever, but like, no, whatever. Like, it's the adventure of life. So I've turned this into a business, and like, it is what it is. And it's like, I don't really care to dwell on these things too much because it's not going to help me, and it probably just attracts in negative energy. And I think that I attracted a lot of negative energy to myself by focusing too much on the problem in the past when I was trying to help people specifically with insomnia. And I'm glad that I did, so I could realize that it wasn't the way, but I like the solution-oriented focus I have now, where, like the Andrew Carnegie Gospel of Wealth, I'm just focusing on the production of greater value through chemical purity, manufacturing processes, knowledge I've just built up. Like, I just know what the best stuff is because I take the best stuff, and I'm a chemist, and I have a degree in, like, psychology, technically Bachelor of Science in psychology, but I just studied neuroscience to get it, and it's technically should be a degree in neuroscience, but the UMass, like, college grading system is absolute. It's just nonsense. Like, I had I'll talk about that a little bit, just because that's its own story. That's a story, okay, so. Oh, God. When I was a wee little lad, around the age of 18, I set foot at UMass Amherst and saw the campus green. To be a student there and feel the air prestigious, I had no idea my thoughts could be so egregious. These people with their left-wing views took a dislike to my charms, and despite my best efforts, I found I had no arms. To compete with a teacher who handed back no work, but said that I was failing, and that the thoughts made me a jerk. I asked her why this was the case, and she said she could not say, and a single graded paper I've not seen to this day. When I brought this to the Dean of Studies, he simply looked at me, and something in his face reminded me of glee. He seemed to at least be apathetic to my helpless plight, and while this all was happening, I could not sleep at night. For the soy-free food at UMass, though a chemistry school it claimed, was nothing of the sort. The food had been quite maimed, for in each tray I later found was sprayed a deadly art. The spray I call itself none other than Satan's fart. It's made of soybean oil, a non-stick spray it was, and to this day I don't know why they fed it to me night and day, and I could not sleep no matter why. I tried to eat different types of food that were labeled soy-free, but nothing was availed to me Well, anyway, basically, while I wasn't sleeping my freshman year of college, I had this miserable teacher named Asta Gupta, who's just a miserable, horrible human being. And she just wouldn't give me back a single piece of graded work, but constantly assigned me essays where I'd have to write about how the United States justice system was unfair because it wouldn't sue a non-profit Christian hospital. I don't even know if it was Christian, but because they wouldn't put a transgender man who's biologically a woman in a ward with women because they said that would confuse their surgeons and could cause malpractice. And then she'd have like papers like why hunting should be illegal, and I would it was just this like nonsensical thing I'd be subjected to at UMass where, and that wasn't even like the worst part. Like, there's just so much nonsense. Like, oh God, I should make its own video on that. Like, you had to like be in these classes at certain times, like an eye clicker. And like my classes were scheduled such that like I couldn't be at the class on time, so like 30% of my grade was docked because he would only give quizzes at the beginning of class. Oh, this is the real great one. Was I had a biology discussion section that was actually a quiz that counted for 30% of my grade or something around that. Maybe 40. It's between 40 and 20. And I thought this would be a discussion section as it said, but it was actually a quiz section where I'd be quizzed on the lecture material on Tuesday that was only available in lecture, but this was on Monday. So they just told me to guess, and it was a nightmare. I bring this to the dean and everything, and they just didn't give a shit. Didn't give a shit at all. So you just have like terrible grades because your professor, like just out of apathy. Cause like there was for my psychology and statistics class that was required, my lab instructor would leave after 15 minutes, never to return, and they would never return emails. Like, it was just like student abuse. I just paid for student abuse. I hated it. I think that everyone who is involved, I think UMass Amherst is kind of an abysmal institution. So I don't know. I don't know how the colleges are any better, so that's where I find Peterson's talks very inspiring. But basically, I find it good that I can afford to make free speech like podcasts. So basically, I'll just like start sharing my athletic routine and what I'm doing right now. So I'm on Adderall today, probably stay on it tomorrow, probably go off of it on Wednesday. Just to see, but I'm going to go off of it for longer on the phenylpiracetam. It's definitely much more potent now, and I have less of the negative side effects, so it's a seemingly effective strategy. I'm going to continue exploring it. I enjoy this strategy a lot. I may supplement the strategy with psilocybin. Definitely share that in longer form videos, because I don't want people dogging me about that. That would be very irritating. But basically, it's just mildly irritating potentially. I don't know. But I'm focused on the supplements right now. I'm focusing on the supplements released and the book released so that I can start marketing the book in earnest, because I just want to get the news about the book out there, because that's going to explain everything really well. It's basically like, hey, here's a problem I had that other people have, and I made a bunch of products that fix this problem, and this is why they fix the problem, and this is where to look for more information, and this is just explaining what I'm doing, which is honestly a lot of like what business is just explaining what you're doing, like working through, explaining what you're doing, relationships, explaining what you're doing, but like working together with people is really your best bet. And at the end of the day, who can you really trust if not your family? If you can't trust your family, you're in dire straits, like the Sultans of Swing, which is it's a great song. Someone dragging the trash in from his multi-million-dollar house. It's good though, because ultimately we need more wealthy people. Like, my goal with Week to Warrior is to just buy tons of machines to automate everything, and then when I get to the point where I have machines doing everything, I'm just going to hire some other people to do that, and then I can go expand into new opportunities, and I can just keep perpetuating this process until I've created more value, because I think it just comes down to the creation of value. And if that's not done, Elon Musk understands this, Jordan Peterson understands this, the people find it inspiring understands it. If you don't create value, like Joe Rogan creates value by bringing to light smart people in creative ways. And I'm just going to run this to 30 minutes or about until I finish this idea. But Joe Rogan's kind of like a marketing genius this way. He kind of markets for genius ideas. Whereas I create value by selling supplements, like genius supplements that are sold at a reasonable price, that are targeted to people who have sleep issues and react to magnesium stearate, maybe if you have IBS or whatever. This is just what I'm developing for myself, and that's my bullshit filter. So I'm not going to develop anything that I'm not using, because I realized I don't need to. Like, it's all just what I'm already doing. Like, I can ultimately get into raw milk. I can just get into market, like grocery store chains. I can simply just solve the problem of food at a higher level, because people who have a high metabolism and are healthier eat more food, but they eat more of certain types of food. And if I understand that, I can just wholesale those foods to people, have distribution handled more effectively, have supplements handled more effectively, employ the most motivated people, pay them well to distribute the ideas, They keep doing that, create more and more useful apps, prevent government from regulating free speech so we can keep it a free discourse of ideas that allows people to understand why the products are better in the first place. And the American dream continues. I think America is a very special country, and I'm going to make some videos about that, so stay tuned.